Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to that lovely program where we call Health Matta, where we take discuss everything we get to do with health and well-being. That is to say, as we take talk, health na wealth, person wey dey alive, and if it counts in wealth. So if truly health na wealth, it good make we know more about the situation of our health. It good make we know more about happenings globally vis-a-vis this pandemic where the whole world still they talk about. We've been on this for a while now. Kotia, Dr. Bartholomew Ofegbuna, the CEO, Grace Valley Medical Center, and also our person here will be saying throughout the month of March, April, May, June, July, enter this August. Now still COVID-19 pandemic now with a breakdown because we cannot be too careful with what the world they talk about this pandemic now. So therefore, so even I don't ready to go through this journey with me, allow me to yield the floor to Dr. Bats. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, and you?
I'm fine. How is the hospital?
Yeah, we are doing well.
Okay.
Good morning, viewers at home and around the world. We're happy to be back today on Health Matter. Today we'll still be talking about coronavirus pandemic. It's about 33 weeks ago that it all started. We'll be giving an overview, but today we'll be laying emphasis on vaccine update. What is the latest? What do we need to know about vaccine? Because as it stands now, the virus is not abating. On a global scale, 23,121,366 persons have been affected. And of course, it has caused a number of deaths. 803,223 individuals, unfortunately, sadly, have lost their lives to this contagion. And I also must add that about 15,715,757 persons have equally recovered from this COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, we do know that at the moment, US still tops the list of the badly affected countries of the world. And of course, in Africa, South Africa is topping the chart of worst hit African countries. Our own Nigeria happens to be at the number third on that chart. But like I said at the beginning, we'll be making emphasis today on vaccines. What is it all about? I must be honest with you. As it stands, a good number of us are beginning to get weary, are beginning to get tired of this long-drawn battle. And a good number of us thought it was going to be a 100-meter dash, but it's fast becoming a marathon. People are getting tired. A number of our supermarkets before now were paying strict attention to government directives on prevention, talking about measures, infection preventive measures like hand washing, social distancing, and insisting on people wearing face masks before they can enter such places. But all of that are beginning to change. People are beginning to lose their guard. It's fast becoming more or less a hopeless situation. When is it going to stop? A good number of us had hoped that this was going to take some few months, but alas, it's beginning to look that we're in for a long haul. What are the hopes that we have in sight? One of the major hopes that we have is the hope that any moment from now, the world will be able to have an effective vaccine on our shelves that can actually help to prevent or lower the cause of infection of this contagion. As it stands today, the number of vaccine candidates that have gotten to advanced stages, 135 vaccine candidates are still, that's an updated vaccine update as of 21st of August. 135 vaccine candidates are still at the stage of preclinical trials. 21 of them have gotten as far as phase 1. 13 have gotten to phase 3. Phase 2, I beg your pardon. While 8 has gotten to phase 3. Only 2 have secured temporal approval. And of course, in the course of this presentation, we'll talk more about that. The 135 are vaccines that are not yet being used in human. Now, when we talk about vaccine, it is nice to talk about the 5 stages of vaccine production. Suffice to say that the first stage of vaccine production actually starts in the laboratory. And of course, when a number of vaccine or a vaccine shows potency, it will move over to the first stage, which of course is the preclinical trial or testing stage. At this stage, such a vaccine are only tested in animals like mice and monkeys, essentially to see if such a vaccine can elicit or produce an immune reaction. If that happens, the next stage will be phase 1 clinical trials, which of course, the mainstay of phase 1 clinical trials of vaccine has to do with safety of the vaccine. How safe is such a vaccine? Is it a vaccine that somebody can take and at the end of the day it will start causing some strange side effects and the person may even become infertile, may even become impotent? They need to find out. I also want to point out that for vaccine to get to this stage, it passes, ideally, it should last between 5 to 10 years. But because of the race to meet up with the challenges of COVID-19, a whole lot of things are being fast-tracked because an enormous amount of money have been pumped into this area of medicine. So phase 1 clinical trials will have to do with a small number of people, usually 20 to about 100. And I must also point out that these individuals are usually volunteers. So nobody forces anybody to come and be used as a guinea pig, as some of us may want to say. Okay, so essentially, like I said, the mainstay of that phase 1 is safety. And then the phase 2 trial of vaccine usually is the expanded trial stage, which usually will involve hundreds of volunteers for such a vaccine trial. It will also look at the safety as well as additional parameters like the dose that such a vaccine will need to get to before it can elicit the expected immune reaction or antibody production in an individual. And of course, if it passes that stage, it will move over to phase 3. Now, at phase 3, the vaccine is tested on thousands of people, volunteers. A good number of vaccines are currently at this stage. South Africa, for instance, is one of the African countries that is participating in vaccine trial. And I understand that over 10,000 people have been vaccinated in that part of the world. And of course, these vaccines have been showing considerable good and promising results. And after the phase 3 trial, it will move over to the approval stage. Now, when a vaccine is approved, because of the ongoing outbreak or pandemic, they usually will give what they call a temporary approval before it gets to a stage that they will give the final formal approval for such a vaccine. But it doesn't stop there. Even after a vaccine has been approved, they will still continue monitoring on large scale to see if there are side effects that may have been missed in the course of doing vaccine trials, because usually it's limited to tens of thousands of people. Some side effects may not show up except if you have a larger percentage of sample size. Some of them may appear 1 in 100,000. You can also see some rare side effects coming in the ratio of 1 in 1 million. Okay, so over time, these vaccines will be monitored to see if they are. So not just that the vaccine has been approved, it is monitored even in the course of giving it to certain individuals for a period of months to years. So it's a constant process. It does not just stop there. Suffice also to say that there are broadly speaking, there are 4 major types of vaccines that are being worked upon at this moment. And I will name the 4. One of them is nucleic acid-based vaccines, the so-called genetic vaccines. A number of top pharmaceutical giants are actually actually giving good results along this line. Now, the second one is viral vector vaccines. And then the third one is virus-based vaccine. And there also the fourth one, the protein-based vaccine, as well as others. Just like we have repurposing in drugs, we also have repurposing in vaccine. Now, what do I mean by repurposing? A pre-existing vaccine that has been used in humans for a long time. A good example of what is going on now is BCG that we all know, okay? They're usually given to children to prevent tuberculosis. It's one of the vaccine that is undergoing trials at the moment. It is a pre-existing vaccine. It has been there for many, many years, okay? But it's being used to see if this vaccine can show some efficacy in COVID-19 infected individuals. And I must tell you that it has actually shown some promising results. So basically, there are 4 major types of vaccine under which a number of companies are trying to work out a vaccine. And we are looking forward to having some of these vaccines on our shelves before the end of this year. But a good number of them will actually come in by the first quarter of next year. Now, how effective are these vaccines? It's $1 million question at the moment, because the efficacy of such vaccine will need to be a subject of several studies in several countries. It has to be peer-reviewed in a number of countries before they can say this vaccine is safe enough for human use. Don't forget, as it is, there's an ongoing rush. Super rich countries are beginning to approach some of these pharmaceutical giants, pharma companies, to enter into one form of deal or the other for a vaccine that's still in production. And of course, it gladdened my heart when last week I saw a news item that said that WHO is working hard to see that when vaccines are ready, there will be an equitable distribution of vaccines, so that it won't be the rich countries of the world having, of course, they will end up having the upper hand without a doubt. But at least it can be equitably distributed to all parts of the world, because it is a contagion that does not recognize or differentiate barriers or boundaries or what have you. So it is a common enemy that all of us must be concerned about. Now, I also would like to talk about the individual vaccines that are being worked upon. A good number of them that have gotten to advanced stage. I would like to mention a number of them. I will start with the genetic vaccines. Now, the genetic vaccines, the major company, pharmaceutical company that has gotten, that is working on this vaccine, the one that has gotten to an advanced stage is called a company called Moderna. Moderna develops vaccine based on messenger RNA, okay, to produce viral proteins in the body. They have yet to bring one to the market. The government has bankrolled Moderna's efforts on a coronavirus vaccine with nearly $1 billion in partnership with National Institute of Health. They found that the vaccine protects monkeys from the coronavirus. In March, the company put the first COVID-19 vaccine into human trials, which yielded promising results after carrying on phase 2 trials. And of course, Moderna is one of the top vaccine candidates. And of course, like I said at the beginning, it is a form of genetic vaccine. Apart from genetic vaccine, there are other candidates. The second one is viral vector vaccines. Viral vector vaccines are vaccines that use a virus to deliver coronavirus genes into cells. The cells make viral proteins, provoking an immune response, but the virus cannot replicate. The top brand on this has gotten to, as a matter of fact, it has been approved for limited use, okay? Chinese company Casino Biologics developed a vaccine based on the adenovirus called AD5 in partnership with Institute of Biology at the country's Academy of Military Medical Sciences. Okay, so that's one of the vaccines that have gotten a temporary approval. And of course, the second one was the one that was produced recently by Russia. But there are a number of controversies surrounding the Russian vaccine. It was actually the first, okay? Now I will have to read it out. The Gamaleya Research Institute, part of Russia's Ministry of Health, launched a phase 1 trial in June of a vaccine they called Gan-COVID-Vac-Lior. It is a combination of two adenoviruses, AD5 and AD26, both engineered with the coronavirus gene. In July, the chair of the upper house of Russia's parliament announced the country might start vaccine production by the end of the year. On August 11, President Vladimir Putin announced that the Russian healthcare regulator had approved the vaccine, renamed Sputnik 5, before phase 3 trials had even begun. Vaccine experts decried the move as risky. Nevertheless, a number of companies have actually started applying. Vietnam has actually agreed to purchase 50 to 150 million doses of that vaccine. Okay, now it came as a surprise because a good number of countries or a good number of vaccine candidates that were being monitored, all of a sudden this just showed up. Okay, so that's why there are a number of controversies surrounding this vaccine. And then the third vaccine-based component is actually the one that is called whole virus vaccines. This set of vaccines are actually the virus itself, but it has been attenuated, it has been weakened in such a way that it will not give the disastrous effects that such a virus can give in the human body. Okay, so more or less the effects of the virus has kind of been watered down. Okay, so vaccines that use a weakened or inactivated version of the coronavirus to provoke an immune reaction or an immune response. Chinese authorities are behind this particular one. The Wuhan Institute of Biological Products developed an inactivated virus vaccine, which the state-owned Chinese company Sinopharm put into clinical tests. The phase 1 and 2 trials showed that the vaccine produced antibodies in volunteers who were used. And of course, the next one is the fourth type of vaccine, which of course is the protein-based vaccine. Okay. Vaccines that use a coronavirus protein or a protein fragment to provide an immune response. Also, the top brand there is also coming from China. And lastly, the repurposed vaccine that I talked about. Okay, so the Bacillus calmette-guerin, which is of course the BCG that we all know in this part of the world. Okay, the vaccine is being developed. It was initially developed in 1900 as a protection, of course, against tuberculosis. The Murdoch Children's Research Institute in Australia is conducting, at the moment, a phase 3 trial. And several other trials are underway to see if the vaccine partly protects against the coronavirus contagion. I also would like to point out that one of the things that we expect the vaccine to do for us is to produce what we refer to as herd immunity. This herd immunity can also come from people who have recovered, who were infected with coronavirus but have survived from the disease. But we don't know to what extent will the immunity produced afterward be able to protect such people. Studies have shown that it could last for just about 3 months. Unlike some other viral infections, that when you suffer once in a lifetime, you won't be able to pick it up again. It gives you a lifelong immunity. So we are looking at herd immunity that could come from natural means, or that the one that will come from mass vaccination. And of course, the scientific community are looking at in the neighborhood of 42% to 66% coverage before the world, either by way of vaccination or the disease wreaking havoc to that extent before the world can actually start talking about herd immunity that will be able to bring a stop to the continuous circulation of this coronavirus pandemic in the world.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Matt, thank you very much for that lovely delivery. And yes, most definitely a lot of questions await you, as we take them. Yes, but we'll go on this shikini break. Most definitely when we come back, we'll open our phone lines, plus other social media handles so that we're going to take questions from Dr. Matt. Go nowhere. We'll be right back.
Health matter na serious matter o. That na why we dey always get Dr. Bat Ufegbunam every Saturday to come teach us and enlighten us on top we health matter. You fit interact with us on top the show or talk to the doctor through we phone numbers wey be 08173147589 and 08105434984. You still fit call us on top with Skype ID wey be WAP TV. You fit also advertise your product and services on top with show wey dey help people. Terms and conditions apply sha o.
Baba Risi, you been dey sleep when government motor show for inside area this afternoon o. Now so them take enter Sisi Clara house wey dey the other side. They come comot with some kind medical equipment. But e be like say she don catch the coronavirus wey people dey yarn about o. We sef we no safe for inside area again o. Kai! I no go even pass that her house again.
Mama Risi, haba. Shey you no know say e dey good make government check everybody wey they suspect say they don contact with people wey don carry the virus? E no mean say dem get am now. Even if to say the person get am, e mean say dem go just carry am make e collect treatment. If person get the coronavirus, e no mean say the person don die. Person fit still recover, or when they don suspect say somebody get am, dem go do test. Dem fit even treat the person fast. Plenty people wey catch the virus, after dem collect treatment, dem recover. When these government people come, make we allow them, make them test you.
This message now from the Federal and State Ministries of Health, Ministry of Information, NCDC, and them partners them.
Everyone has to wear a face mask to reduce the spread of COVID-19. Wearing face masks appropriately can help prevent the spread of COVID-19. So the more you wear your face masks, the better. Whether you are on your way to work, the market, or the bus station, always wear a face mask. When an infected person coughs, they spread tiny droplets filled with the virus into the air. Wearing the mask helps to reduce the amount of virus being spread by an infected person. When wearing a face mask, make sure it covers your nose and mouth. You do not wear it on your neck or under your chin. Avoid touching your mask often. Dispose of it hygienically. Face shields will not protect you from COVID-19. Avoid wearing them. If you must, always wear it with a face mask. Take responsibility. This message is brought to you by the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19.
Hello, today I'd like to talk to you about how to wear a non-medical mask, also known as fabric mask. Fabric masks can be used by the general public in areas where there are many people infected with COVID-19 in the community, and physical distancing of at least 1 meter cannot be achieved. There are a wide variety of fabric masks that can be handmade or purchased in a store. They act as a barrier so that you can protect those around you. They should ideally be made of 3 layers of fabric. The outer layer should be a water-resistant fabric. The inner layer should be water-absorbent, and the mid-layer acts as a filter. First, clean your hands with alcohol-based hand rub or soap and water. Pick up your clean mask and inspect it. If it is damaged or dirty, do not wear it. Place the mask on your face, covering your nose, mouth, and chin, making sure there are no gaps between your face and the mask. Do not touch the mask while wearing it to avoid contamination. If you accidentally do, clean your hands. Before touching the mask, clean your hands with alcohol-based hand rub or soap and water. As you remove the mask, lean forward slightly and remove the loops from behind the ears without touching the front of the mask. And don't forget, wash your hands after taking off the mask. Make sure that you have your own mask and do not share it with anyone. If your fabric mask is not soiled or wet and you need to reuse it, you can store it in a clean plastic resealable bag such as this one. However, if it is dirty, do not use it. Wash it with soap and water, preferably at high temperatures after each day of use. Remember, a mask alone cannot protect you from COVID-19. It must be combined with protective measures, including maintaining at least 1 meter distance from others and washing your hands frequently. Stay safe and help prevent the spread of COVID-19.
Okay, you're welcome back to the show. Couple of questions with the doctor, like I rightly said a few minutes ago. But all things being equal, you can reach us on our phone lines. We go to the screen. They will display for the screen for you to call in. It's also on our handles on our Instagram. You can reach us also on the on our WAP TV ID. That is for those of now we like to Skype too. Make we see your face. Make doctors see you. Make we see ourselves. So, issue of herd immunity, Dr. Bat is here. I would like you to shed light on what herd immunity means vis-a-vis the issue of Putin. Now, the very first question we may even pen down with that before you even talk about them. Anyways, the issue of Putin, he came out, he made us realize there's this vaccine. They are going to try it with his daughter first and everything. At times, this thing, I think the next thing I'm beginning to, the next question I'm asking myself now, which I feel you should react on is, are we looking at a fight or a war now between countries that are making vaccines in the world versus the pharmaceutical giants of the world? Is it a must that the panacea or the breakthrough that we will have must come? I use the word must now emphatically. Must it come from the pharmaceutical giants of the world? Because some people are beginning to see it as, they are beginning to see the economic war than even the medical breakthrough.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's multifaceted. Thank you for those two wonderful questions. Let me start with herd immunity. And I also will lay emphasis on why vaccine appears to be what will eventually become the game changer. Let me point out that herd immunity in time past had helped the world to eradicate smallpox as well as polio. Okay? Now, herd immunity could come in two ways, majorly. But first, what is herd immunity? Herd immunity describes that point in a population when a sufficient number of people would have been immune to a disease, okay, in such a way that it can help to stop further circulation of such a disease. At a point in population, talking about the numerical strength, talking about the number of people that may be affected, to a point that you will say that people have sufficiently developed immune to this infection, thereby being able to prevent even those ones that haven't been affected. Now, it can happen in two ways. People who get infected can start developing immunity to a disease. In some viral disease entities, that is actually the picture. Okay, but along the line, it could cover some certain percentage of the population that it will, those people that are already immune will help to prevent it from spreading to those ones who are still unaffected by the disease. For instance, the scientists are saying that if the infection rate continues the way it is going, at the moment, we're almost getting to 24 million people affected globally. Now, the world with a population of 7.5 billion, you will need the infection to affect as many as 3.5 billion people to develop, for you to say that the world have developed herd immunity to this contagion. So it's a far cry from where we are now to a time it will start affecting billions. So that is not going to work. That is not a good solution to the problem. Okay, so, but vaccine will help us to achieve this, okay, in no distant time. If we're able to get an effective vaccine, vaccine will have its own challenges without a doubt. Okay, there is no perfect vaccine. But the scientific community are saying that if we can get a vaccine that is 50% efficient, that it will do the world a world of good. And with vaccine, we can easily produce or the world can easily produce herd immunity that will help to protect even the uninfected individuals, larger fraction of the community that we live in. Now, coming to the controversy surrounding the vaccine from Russia, I must also point out that the scientific community monitors all the vaccines that are in different stages of development. Okay, so there are a number of vaccine trackers. They will tell you the number that are in preclinical stage. They will tell you the number that are in phase 1, the number that are in phase 2, the number that are in phase 3. Okay, so this was a vaccine that ideally should see have been, let me be specific. Let me read out what I have here. The Gamaleya Research Institute, part of Russia's Ministry of Health, launched a phase 1 trial in June of a vaccine they called Gamkovic-Lyo. Just June was when they started. It is a combination of two adenoviruses, AD5 and AD26, both engineered with a coronavirus gene. In July, the chair of the upper house of the Russia's parliament announced that the country might start vaccine production by the end of the year. On August 11, President Vladimir Putin announced that a Russian healthcare regulator had approved the vaccine, renamed Sputnik 5, before phase 3 trials had even begun. So that is why people have concerns. People have raised, the scientific community have raised concerns. Phase 3 trial, which usually deals on the efficacy of vaccine. Okay? Phase 1 we deal with safety, and then you move on. And it gets to safety. That's when it deals with the efficacy of vaccine and some other parameters. That hasn't started, and the vaccine has already received approval. Okay, so that is why questions were being raised. For some other vaccines that have gotten that far, there are no such questions.
Okay, my next question on vaccine now is, when we say vaccine, to a layman, it means two things. But to you doctors, it might mean one. So let me get a clear definition or a clear definition of what we mean. Is it that when this vaccine come out to, if they give person, it means say, if they give person, the person no go get them again, it go dey your body, the way they receive ajesara, very ajesara. Or we are looking at something that now when you get, it go cure them. Because those are the two ways. Is it for the cure of those where you don't get, may they no get again, or now for even people where no get, if they give you, say there are some medicine now that you normally tell us, say if you no get them, no take them. Now for those we get. So what are we looking at here, sir?
Thank you very much. Vaccines are not the same as drugs. Drugs are therapeutics, they cure. Vaccine does the work of prevention. Now, if you remember when I was reading out the stages of trials, the vaccination trials were being done among healthy individuals. Yeah. So it's somebody who is uninfected by a medical condition that will actually be eligible to be vaccinated. Okay? So the vaccines are given in order to prevent people from picking up the infection, not to people who may already have the disease. If you already have the disease, what such a person needs to go for is treatment. Okay, so that is the difference.
Let's take Enoch. Good morning, Enoch.
Hello?
How you doing, Enoch?
Good morning, Enoch.
The network, Enoch, try call us back all the way from Adamawa. It differentiates us. Say that one are to just make sure say person we no get, no go get.
Vaccines are usually given to healthy individuals, healthy subjects, with a view to preventing them from picking up infection. Anybody who is already infected is not eligible to go for the vaccine. The person should go for treatment. However, there are a number of vaccines that can confer almost or close to 100% immunity in individuals who have taken them. Okay, so we have a number of disease entities or some vaccines that the world have known, or some disease entities that are vaccine preventable. When
Enoch
you take it,
luckily for him. Enoch, the doctor is here. Good morning, sir.
Okay, so such vaccines, when you take them, you have a lifelong immunity. A good example is hepatitis B vaccine, okay, as well as cervical cancer vaccine. Now, if you're able to take it, you have a lifelong immunity. However, there are some vaccines that when you take, you need to take them all over again. You either need to take multiple doses or a booster dose after some years. Some vaccines are like that. So the number of things, when you talk about vaccine, it entails a whole lot of things. Will it be multiple dose vaccine? Will somebody require just more than a jab to stay protected? Or will it be repeated after every 2 years, after every 5 years?
And these questions are yet to be answered now.
Yes.
Because the vaccine is not even out.
Yes, but we are looking at the pre-existing vaccines that we have around, at least to have an idea of what it will look like when it does come out or when it does hit our shelves. For instance, typhoid vaccine, you need to take first, and then much later, after some few years, you need to take a booster dose. But some you just need to take once, and that will be it.
But is it possible to make typhoid do person just once in a lifetime? Typhoid
Yeah. It's not. I'm just trying to give an analogy that a number of vaccines will need multiple doses or booster doses given over a period of time.
So, Dr. Bad, from the analysis where you make now, if I hear you where all things being equal, ceteris paribus, like they say, all things being equal, are we saying that by December? I'm not saying you're announcing, but just a glimpse of hope, sir, because this fear too.
Yes.
Are we saying before the year runs out, we might be having a vaccine in our shelves or on our shelves?
Yes, I want to borrow the word. I want to borrow the word that a very revered physician used, talking about Anthony Fauci, of United States of America. We need to be cautiously optimistic. Okay? So we need to be cautiously optimistic in the sense that it's guarded. Whether the vaccine, as a matter of fact, a number of vaccine candidates will start the journey, and a good number of them will be falling by the wayside at the production or the research stages. Goes on along the line. Okay, but at the end of the day, if we're able to get a vaccine that can confer up to 50%, that would be good enough. U.S. government has actually invested massively in a number of vaccine production companies. Okay, some they gave $1 billion. Some that have gotten to an advanced stage, they still invested some money to them to help them so that the world can actually get a vaccine that will help us to return to normalcy. Okay, because I can tell you the challenges we are going through, a lot of people are beginning to lose hope. When is this going to stop? Is this where we'll, putting on face masks has its own challenges, having to wash one's hands over and over, and then having to read about people dying here and people dying there. Okay, so those are things that can, when you start looking at, it discourages you. Okay, but there is hope in sight. Okay, hopefully before the end of October, some vaccine candidates, okay, may be out. At the moment, a good number of them are already at the stage of completion. Quite a number of them, like I read at the beginning. I want to just read it again. Medina? Yes. A good number of them are almost getting to yes. So 135 currently in preclinical stages or stage. 21 of them are on phase 1. The ones that are being tested for safety purposes. 13 vaccines in expanded safety trials are already in phase 2. Phase 3 has 8 vaccine candidates, the ones that are undergoing large-scale efficacy tests. And of course, 2 have gotten temporary approval. So we are hoping that between these 8 and 2, we are looking at 10 vaccine candidates.
But Dr. Bart, pardon me for this, but things seems as if it's returning to normalcy. Are we really? And we have seen some centers, is it ICU? You call them the ICU centers? Maybe winding up a bit that there's this. They say they are experiencing a fall in the curve, a gradual fall in the curve. Is this supposed to be a good news, sir? Or are we warming up for a bigger break in pandemic?
Okay, I want to answer the question by looking at the Nigerian situation.
I believe you know what I'm talking about technically.
Yes. Looking at the Nigerian situation, you will discover that over time, we've seen considerable drop in the number of cases over a period of time. Okay? Until after a while, we saw 500 and something. And overnight, we saw 340 cases in Nigeria. Okay, but I must also say that some parts of Africa are beginning to see a decline in the number of cases of infected people in that part of the world, in Africa, African sub-region, especially West Africa. But it is not so for South Africa and a number of other African countries. Okay? Now, apart from South Africa that I mentioned, a good number of countries of the world are still having upsurge, massive upsurge. A country like India, for instance, saw almost overnight, India recorded the number of new infections in India was 69,039. My source is Worldometer. 69,039 people were infected in the last 24 hours in India. And of course, US has 50,455 new cases in the last 24 hours, bringing the total number of infected in the US to 5.7 million. Brazil, 3.5 million, above 3.5 million. India, above 2.9 million. Russia, 946. Our own South Africa, 603,338. Now, if you look at these top countries from US, they had over 50,000 in the last 24 hours. Brazil had over 31,000 in the last 24 hours. India had over 69,000 in the last 24 hours. Russia had over 4,000 in the last 24 hours. South Africa had over 3,300 in the last 24 hours. I also would like to point out that the reason why South Africa probably tops the chart in Africa may be traceable to the fact that South Africa has tested a large chunk of their population.
Okay.
Yes. South Africa has a population of about 59 million people, and so far they've done over 3 million tests. They've done over 3.5 million tests. 3,504,507 tests have been conducted in South Africa. Now, Egypt comes second in Africa with 97,148 cases, and Egypt has done just 135,000 tests. Okay? Nigeria has crossed the 50,000 mark. Nigeria has infection load or a case load of 51,304 at the moment. Overnight, we saw 340 new cases. And of course, unfortunately, 996 people have lost their lives to this contagion. In terms of how far we have gone in Nigeria with testing, so far Nigeria has tested 369,904 persons or have conducted 369,000 approximately 370 tests have been conducted in Nigeria. Suffice also to say that Morocco, who comes fourth behind Nigeria, has tested over 1.6 million.
Okay, doctor, with this statistical analysis we don't do, we could go on this shikini break so that we go also hear from some other experts. Tabi make we see the videos we still feel complement everything we doctor they talk about this coronavirus. Please go nowhere. We will be right back.
Health matter na serious matter o. That na why we dey always get Dr. Bat Ufegbunam every Saturday to come teach us and enlighten us on top we health matter. You fit interact with us on top the show or talk to the doctor through we phone numbers wey be 08173147589 and 08105434984. You still fit call us on top we Skype ID wey be WAP TV. You fit also advertise your product and services on top we show where they help people. Terms and conditions apply, shall.
Good afternoon, Auntie.
Hello, John. How are you? I see you're not wearing a face mask. Do you know the risk of getting infected with coronavirus is very high when you don't wear a face mask while outside or in public places?
But I'm young and very healthy. I cannot easily be infected with the virus.
Anyone can be affected with coronavirus if not careful. One of the most effective ways to prevent the spread of coronavirus is by wearing face masks. This ensures that persons infected with coronavirus do not easily infect others. You can use any type of mask available to you. Just make sure you clean your hands with alcohol-based sanitizer or with soap under running water before wearing your mask. Cover your mouth and nose with the mask. Avoid touching the mask while using it. If you do, sanitize or wash your hands with soap and water. Replace the mask with a new one once it is damp. To remove the mask, pull it off from behind. Dispose single-use mask immediately in a closed bin. And clean hands with alcohol-based sanitizer or soap under running water.
This message is brought to you by the Adamawa State Ministry of Health in collaboration with UNICEF.
Medical masks should be worn by health workers and those caring for someone with COVID-19 symptoms, persons aged 60 and over, and anyone with pre-existing medical conditions, as they are at greater risk of developing serious illness, and people who have symptoms suggestive of COVID-19. Before touching the mask, clean your hands with alcohol-based hand rub or soap and water. Inspect the mask for tears or holes. Do not use a mask that has previously been worn or is damaged. Verify which side is the top. This is usually where the metal strip is. Identify the inside of the mask, which is usually the white side. Place the mask on your face, covering your nose, mouth, and chin, making sure there are no gaps between your face and the mask. Pinch the metal strip so that it molds to the shape of your nose. Remember, do not touch the front of the mask while using it to avoid contamination. If you accidentally touch it, clean your hands. Now, how do you take off a medical mask? Before touching the mask, once again, ensure that you clean your hands with alcohol-based hand rub or soap and water. Remove the straps from behind the head or ears without touching the front of the mask. As you remove the mask, lean forward and pull the mask away from your face. Medical masks are for single use only. Discard the mask immediately, preferably into a closed bin. Clean your hands after touching the mask. Always be aware of the condition of the mask. Replace it if it gets soiled or damp. A mask alone cannot protect you from COVID-19. It must be combined with other measures, including maintaining at least 1 meter distance from each other, washing your hands frequently, and avoid touching your eyes, mouth, and nose while wearing a mask. Stay safe and help prevent the spread of COVID-19.
Yes, you're welcome back to the show. Obviously, you don't hear from a pre-baller as she take sensitizers on how to wear the face mask vis-a-vis the things where we saw posts they do before we even touch the face mask. Okay, this question where I want to ask, I want to try and give Dr. Ba because I think it take B. It can't be like, say, maybe for this Obodo Nigeria, maybe a different type of coronavirus, 90, because one go begin to ask ourselves, shey the coronavirus wey dey do the old people, shey na im dey do the young people ni? And speaking of the young people, I feel the young people too, and they suppose get that immunity because they still young, like they always tell us. Suppose get that immunity wey be say a young man of 22, 23 in kidney suppose, that's all under normal circumstance, kidney suppose dey okay, heart suppose dey okay, but why be say this we go here say the one wey catch this one, the one wey catch that one, shey no be the same COVID-19 be abi e get types? No we ask.
Thank you very much, sir, for that question.
You're welcome, sir.
Yeah, I must point this out that the Nigeria scientific community have been able to identify 7 strains of coronavirus in Nigeria. Before now, it was 3 known strains that we have in the country. So basically what that means is that anybody who gets infected with the disease in Nigeria could be one of these strains, okay, that may be responsible. Now, I try to reason it out. Why is this so? It probably may have to do with the fact that, don't forget, a number of Nigerians that were repatriated from a number of countries came in from some of the worst hit countries. A good number were brought in from US, brought in from UK, brought in from China. And we do know that different strains were in existence in some of these cities. So it's like amalgamation of a number of strains coming back home. Beyond that, we want to look at it from a scientific angle. Don't forget, we talk about vulnerable group of persons when we are talking about COVID-19. This includes people that have pre-existing comorbidity. Prince from Abuja, good morning.
Good morning.
How you doing, Prince?
How's the work?
We thank God na the work we did so. So doctor dey here.
Thank you very much, my brother.
Doctor, how you doing?
I'm fine, thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you for what way you do.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you just called in to appreciate. We really appreciate you.
Yeah,
too.
so we appreciate you.
Say some come from Morocco, some come from.
Yes. But beyond that, we know that scientifically proven facts, okay, that make some people a lot more disposed to having a severe disease when they come down with infection. Don't forget, 80 to 85% of people that may be infected with COVID-19 may not have severe disease. Okay? Their system may be able to ward off the infection. Okay? A good number of them may actually not end up visiting any hospital. But it's the remaining 20% that will actually, a fraction of this 20% may have severe disease. And this could be traceable to a number of factors. Okay. If such people have, or such a person has a pre-existing medical condition like diabetes, hypertension, some other cardiac conditions, asthma, and HIV/AIDS, and a good number of other comorbidities, this set of people will be predisposed to a severe disease if they get infected. Okay? Shortly, the video we saw a while ago has actually specified the number of people that should be putting on medical masks. So, if you have a pre-existing medical condition, you need to start using medical face mask. It is now available in every part of the country, and
the type you are wearing. If I'm
no, this is not medical. This is a cloth mask. Okay. This is the.
But for those that have serious underlying ailments, they should wear medical.
Yes, medical face mask. For people who are 60 years and older, WHO advises this set of people to also wear medical face mask, okay, rather than the cloth one that a good number of us are wearing. Now, apart from this medical condition that can predispose one, the other reasons why people may have severe disease are still a subject of ongoing research. It may be related to the types or strains that you pointed out. And of course, I said that we have about 7 strains currently in Nigeria. Okay, from the 3 that were sequenced some few months ago.
So, luckily for anybody now, if you catch the one, maybe with a weaker strength, I don't know, is that how it works? You might be able to, or is it the one? Is there one that maybe this one, the strength is serious, and is there degree of?
Logically speaking, one may want to look at it, but I must be honest with you, the scientific community hasn't told us that just yet. Okay, but what we do know is that people who are young, okay, people who have robust immunity, okay, are better off. They're able to withstand the disease if infected. But that is not to say that we haven't seen young people dying in Nigeria and a number of other countries of the world. Okay. Now, but what I also would like to point out is the fact that initially, before the COVID-19 pandemic came to Nigeria, we had all sorts of speculations. A lot of people said Nigeria will be picking dead bodies on the street because they were actually doing the estimate based on our fragile health infrastructure.
Yes.
But alas, it has not been so. And this could be traceable to a number of factors. The government has actually done a very good job. They've done a catch-up. They've been able to keep in mind that we started with about 4 or 5 labs that could test for COVID-19, okay, at the beginning. But as we speak today, we have 64 labs in Nigeria, molecular lab that can independently test for COVID-19. Okay, so a lot of efforts, a lot of advancement. We've been able to achieve a lot of advancement, ramp up our capacities along this line. So that on its own is a good reason why we didn't go the way that people predicted we were going
picking dead bodies on the streets.
Now, beyond that too, we've noticed that for a long time we've been seeing low fatalities in Nigeria. Okay. You just see that the deaths are not as much as we are seeing in some other parts of the country. A number of people, scientific community have said it could be due to the young youthful population that we have, and a whole lot of other factors have also been factored in. But whatever it is,
let us stay safe.
Let us stay safe.
Whatever
and
it is,
obey the government directives.
Yes, well, let's stay safe.
Put on our face masks, wash our hands, and then maintain social distancing, among other preventive measures.
Okay, you've heard from the doctor. Let us stay safe, use your face mask, obey government directives, and I dare we draw the curtain for this week's Health Matter. From me and the doctor, we'll say
bye-bye. So we'll see you next week.